What's going on, Brew Roots listeners? We are semi-live because this is going to be pre-recorded on a dreadfully rainy day in March. We're supposed to be getting slammed with 12 to 18 inches in our area, so we will report back after this episode airs to see if that actually happens, but currently right now, it's pouring out. Work wasn't canceled. Does work get canceled for adults anymore?
The state closed, so kind of.
Kind of, depending on what you do.
Yes.
That's not the case here. But luckily, I could probably get away with drinking this beverage with work even being open. We're going to discuss that a little bit further, but I'm here with John Walker. Hey, John, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. How's it going for you?
Things are going well on this blustery day, but yeah, things are going great.
Yeah.
Co-founder at Athletic Brewing and based here in Connecticut.
Yeah, so you kind of spilt the beans. We're talking with Athletic Brewing. One of the fastest growing beer brands I think I've ever seen. And you're not even selling alcohol, really. I mean, you're selling NA beer. I came across you guys, a while back. But my first real deep dive into your product was this dry January. And I think it was for a lot of people. Your ads were great. We saw them on TikTok. We saw them all over the place.
Thank you.
So tell us about Athletic.
Yeah, so Athletic was formed officially in 2017. So my co-founder, who was the original founder, Bill Schufelt, kind of dreamed this up after he had tried a sober October, I believe, almost 10 years ago. And he put down the drink for a month, just, as many people do in dry January or sober October. And he was just like, I'll give it a shot. And it turns out after he started doing it, he was like, I feel amazing. And, my performance is up, my game is up, I can work out, I can do all these things, and I feel great. So he actually just never picked up another alcoholic beverage. As he kind of continued down that path, he was more and more disappointed every time he would go out to dinner and had to select drinks off of the kids' menu because there was nothing good on the adult menu for somebody that wanted a beer. Or at least something that was like tasty and innovative and kind of aspirational. And so
yeah, Shirley Temples don't make the cut.
No,
many times. Yeah,
no, not at all. And when you're pairing, when you're having a 5-course meal and you're trying to pair stuff, Coke can only go so far. So he thought that he would love a beer. He went to school up in Vermont and was immersed in craft beer. And so was desperately missing tasty beverages and also missing kind of those occasions where he's with his friends and, you're just having a brew. So he thought that he would try to create a non-alcoholic beer that tasted good, that people would want to drink. And so he worked on a business plan for a number of years. And then he and his wife finally decided to just go for it. And as he was writing the business plan, he recognized the fact that he could make a pretty tremendous impact on millions of people's lives by just giving them a great option, an option to be good, an option to be healthy. And so he went down that road, quit his very stable job one day, and started looking for a brewing partner. And that's where I came in 2017. I was brewing in Santa Fe, New Mexico at a place called Second Street Brewery. And I was just kind of looking for the next place, the next, stop in my career. And Bill's story and his vision to be more innovative than anybody had ever been in craft was really kind of inspiring. And so I joined forces and moved here in 2017 to start Athletic with him.
Does it ever, I'm going to get the difficult question out of the bag. Does it kind of frustrate you guys that you see a big influx in October and January? Or is that every time you do it, you're chipping away at more people to become a part of this brand?
No, every every industry is going to have a little seasonality, and it's fine for us. It's a great opportunity to educate people on what they're potentially missing without embracing this. I'm sorry if you can hear my dogs.
That's all right. Yeah.
And so, it's a great opportunity to, open the aperture to all the folks who didn't know about it, who felt maybe uncomfortable going into the non-alcoholic space, and to basically showcase that there's a whole industry now that supports people making choices that may impact their health in a positive way. And so, if it's dry January, we went out this year with Give Dry a Try. It's like, if you can't do the whole month, try it for a week. You might like it. If you've got Athletic in the fridge, it's probably going to be a little bit easier. We like the months.
Yeah, I bet. The beer I love from you guys is your Golden Ale. I think that's one of the best ones. But what really impressed me was how you have an IPA that actually tastes like an IPA, not cardboard.
Yeah, that was a goal.
Yeah, and it's not like it's a hop tea. It doesn't taste like hop tea either. It's a fully rounded IPA. I mean, you can't not call it an IPA outside of the alcohol.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was. I won't lie. It was definitely a tall order that Bill propositioned to make a beer that tastes like a beer. And I told him early on. I don't know if he liked hearing it, but I said, if we don't have a beer that tastes good, we're not going to sell it. And it was a challenge to him and a challenge to myself. And I think collectively we found a process that was unique and kind of hit all of our marks. So we've got a full flavored kind of timeless recipe, IPA and golden early on. Our calorie counts are really low, which we wanted to do. And we've still got all that same beer experience, both in flavor and, in hand. So you can have that beer, be with your buds, do whatever you want. And we're happy with it.
Same mouthfeel too.
Yep.
When you're drinking it. When you started in beer, right? Had you ever brewed an NA before coming to Athletic?
No, I had not. I think 99.9% of craft brewers can say that was a similar story. But no, I hadn't. And it was kind of intriguing. I didn't know anything about the technology behind it. And there are many technologies because people have been making NA beer for eons. Like, it's been around forever. But what Bill mentioned earlier on, or what I mentioned earlier on, and that Bill had kind of set in his mind, was that if somebody could have made a delicious NA beer using those technologies, they probably would have already, and that we were not going to do any of those. So I had to learn a little bit about the basics of old school NA making and simultaneously kind of define a new process.
Yeah. How different is it from traditional brewing?
So our process is different in the sense that, we have to take food safety into consideration a whole lot. And we have to clean a whole lot because we don't have ethanol in our brewery as a preservative. And so it's definitely a lot more challenging in that sense. And because we don't ever want to remove alcohol, we have to have a finished product that is under 0.5%. So we have a traditional brewing process. We've got all the same equipment. If you stepped into our brewery, you wouldn't call it any different than, the brewery down the street from you. We just have to take a couple considerations into mind, a little deeper than your average brewery. And we control our process in a couple of different ways on both hot and cold side.
Mm-hmm. But still using similar grain builds, still using similar hop profiles for beers?
Yeah. So all of the, we've got the, hops from the Pacific Northwest and Germany. We've got all our malt, or most of our malts from the Pacific Northwest. We've got a custom Vienna malt. It's really delicious. So we focus a lot of our time and energy on the quality of the ingredients going into the beer in the first place, because that's what's going to be showcased at the end of the day.
It's crazy to think you guys are in Connecticut. I think a lot of people thought you are from California with the branding that's going on. Is that intentional, or?
We kind of, when we designed the name and the packaging and all of that, we wanted more than anything just for it to feel kind of like it could travel anywhere, and to make it feel good and inspiring and fun. To make a can that somebody would be proud of holding. And so that was our goal. And I think, Fairfolk, they were early on partners on our creative side. They did a phenomenal job at creating that. And so it's, the experience on the outside is just as nice as the experience on the inside.
Yeah. Has maybe a favorite hop to work with, a grain to work with, changed since you've ventured into the NA world?
A favorite hop? No. I think, just like most craft brewers, we're kind of enamored with all the creative stuff that's coming out. When Sabro hit, that was really exciting and fun. It's still a pretty fun hop, super dynamic, but I still love our old school hops. I mean, I could drink a beer with Cascade all day, every day.
Yeah. Can we talk about the growth of this company? I mean, it's probably I'm going to say it. I think it is the biggest growing, or the fastest growing NA company I've seen. I mean, I can't think of another one that's had this much traction.
Yeah. It kind of took us by surprise. We had built our first brewery in 2017. It was a 5,000 barrel brewery. And we were sure that was going to take us out a couple of years. But as we started making the product and started selling the product, locally in Connecticut and Massachusetts, and people were meeting the trucks at the stores that they're dropping off at, we recognized the fact that we needed some more. So we expanded our footprint in Connecticut to do about double our original capacity, and recognized again that we were kind of out of room, and we were, excited by the acceptance in the market, and recognized the fact that if we wanted this to be as successful as we thought it could be, that we'd have to move fast. And it was not only to, build the business and, support our teammates and create a great opportunity for tons of people in-house, but it was also to help grow the category. And we saw a phenomenal moment in time where people were looking at health and wellness and being mindful about what they put in their bodies. And we wanted to support those endeavors by getting our products out there and being vocal and supporting the beer industry. Because at the end of the day, NA beer in general, and specifically, Athletic, it is additive to beer. I think it's like 80% of our consumers also drink beer, and then they're adding in 5 nights a week where they couldn't traditionally drink or didn't want to.
Yeah. It's certainly a great option, and it's actually opened up the market to get more options. We saw a bunch of local breweries who are on even a small scale dip their toe into NA. Some good, some bad, but I think it's a process, right? I think you have to learn how to do it, and a lot of these people brewing it for the first time. It was interesting. It's going to be really cool next year to see what breweries start doing for NA and throughout the summer.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. And we're honestly excited to have more entrance into the category, because as we want to, we want our business to grow, but we need more than anything for the category to grow and for there to be mass adoption. And, we're going to find that support with all the other brewers in the country, the 9,000 or so craft brewers adopting this and kind of accepting it. And they're going to help spread the word and normalize non-alcoholic beer in the United States, similar to, what non-alcoholic beer is in Europe already, where it's just, it's a beer, it just doesn't have alcohol in it.
Yeah, so I was going to actually touch upon that. So the European market is, I'm not going to say light years ahead of us, but they are ahead of us with NA beers. I mean, we see Heineken, one of the biggest selling brands in Europe, having their NA. And I think that's stepping into the United States now, right? The Heineken Zero.
Yeah, so Heineken Zero has been in the States for, I think, about 4 years now. And they've been doing great, and they've spent a ton on marketing and kind of spreading the word in the category, locally, like domestically and abroad. And for what it's worth, I think they're making a great product, and we're really excited to have a powerhouse like that in our neighborhood.
Yeah. Let's talk about innovation. Obviously, with beer styles, there's a multiple dozens of different beer styles. How do you approach something like, you don't have a sour in your profile right now? How do you approach styles that people are drinking that you might not have?
We actually do have a couple sours.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
You do? Okay.
It's not on the year-round lineup, but we do have them. And so we have pilot brew houses on both coasts. So I didn't really speak to it yet, but we've got a brewery in Connecticut and a brewery in California. And those are both significant breweries in the sense that they're like 100 and 200 barrel brew houses. But both coasts also have small pilot systems. So California has a 7 barrel and Connecticut has a 3 barrel. And we've got an amazing team of brewers and quality technicians and packaging teammates who generally love brewing. And with our unique process and devotion to NA, we have the ability to innovate all the time. And so we're pushing out, anywhere between 3 to 8 new brews each month. In 2022, we brewed about 70 different unique recipes, ranging from sours to milkshake IPAs to extra dark brews to Maibach, kind of all over the craft umbrella.
Now, those aren't in mass production, though, right?
No, not mass production. We'll trial things on our pilot brew house, and once we're happy with the recipe, we will brew 100 barrels of it. And we take that 100 barrels, package it off, and we'll sell that on our e-commerce platform, which we consider to be our virtual tap room, because we can ship all over the country, and we can get fresh product to consumers looking for new things, a day or two after it's come off the line, and we get direct feedback from them. So, we hear if they like it, if they don't like it, what could be tweaked, and we move on from there.
How does that work? You obviously email entered, and then do you send a survey after, or is that? Yeah,
we'll do surveys, and then we've got our customer base is phenomenal and interactive, and most of them are just as excited as us about Athletic, and so they're very vocal and communicative, and we learn a lot from them.
Yeah. Do you feel as though that social media has been the biggest feather in your cap for growing the brand?
I think social media has played an important part, but I think the most important part, especially early on, was hand-to-hand interactions. So when we were just getting the brewery going, Bill would, get up at 2 a.m. He would drive to an Ironman up in Lake Placid or up in Vermont, or hit a 5K in Connecticut and then a 20-mile race up in New York. And he would bring product all over the place and be at the finish line handing Athletic out. And it was those interactions, we say cans and hands, that really helped us grow awareness and our brand and the category in general, because it was those celebratory moments where people were like, oh man, I want like I want to celebrate with a beer, but I don't want to feel crummy, especially after I feel so great and had this major accomplishment. And so they had that moment, they had the beer, and they're like, and this tastes like beer. And, you know, it was that culture and those events that really helped drive us forward early on.
So it was definitely an organic growth of word of mouth.
Yes.
At first.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, you have to do the legwork when you have a brand that's different, right? I mean, this is in the United States. I feel like 5 years ago, you were looking at like O'Doul's as a brand of NA, Budweiser. They had their NA, and it all came in a bottle. It didn't come in cans,
Yep.
and it had a stigma that it tasted like crap.
Yeah, and the stigma, it went beyond the flavor. You know, that those brands had imprinted upon people another negative attribute was if somebody's holding that, they probably have a problem. And
Right.
we don't want people feeling that way, and they shouldn't to this date. And, you know, if somebody wants to grab one of those brands and have it, like, they should be able to do that and be proud. And it's a smart decision at the end of the day. And, you know, that people were being given the credit for the smart decision. And so we kind of wanted to help grow that.
Yeah, I think your brand has definitely helped erase that stigma that, you know, oh, you're drinking NA, you need help. You must be an alcoholic or something like that. It's never felt that way with your brand. It's felt like a wellness drink.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate that it got that stigma in the first place, but we're happy to be working against it.
Yeah. Can we talk about like the wellness portion of it? I mean, it's not advertised as a sports energy drink. It's not advertised as a wellness drink. So maybe I shouldn't classify it as that. But legally, you're required to put the caloric intake right on the cans.
We don't have to, but we elect to because we're proud of the calorie counts.
How do you measure that with a beer? And is it something that do you think that will make its way into traditional craft beer?
We'll see if it makes its way into traditional brewing, in traditional like alcoholic beer. I think that it could, especially with regulations moving towards transparency and advising consumers of what they're putting in their bodies. And I think ultimately it's a good thing because whether or not, you know, you're choosing to have something with a ton of calories or a few calories, you have the right to know. And so I see that as a possibility. But, you know, that's a regulatory thing that we'll have to see. And we put it on there because we're proud of our calorie counts and want people to know. And the way we, validate is with third party. We've got all the instrumentation in-house to verify every brand, every batch. But every time that we put anything on a label, it's verified by a third-party lab.
Do you feel like some craft breweries in the future or some even macro brands would hate to have that calorie number on their cans because we all joke that double IPA that you're drinking is probably 800 to 900 calories.
I think that not everybody would want that on there all the time. That could be a detriment.
Yeah. So I do notice you have sparkling water as well. Is that something that's new within the last couple of years?
Yeah. So we launched Daypack's hop sparkling water, and originally we were just making that in the brewery, and this was several years ago. We were just making it in the brewery to drink ourselves, and kind of experimenting with hops and flavors, and we enjoyed it a lot. And we had it in these little samples in our tap room, and people kept asking for it. So we made a couple batches that were bigger. We put it on e-commerce, and kind of like the pilot program we were just talking about. People were excited about it, So we put a little more time and effort into, making the brand real. And now we've got Daypack Sparkling Water. It's on e-commerce all the time, and we're doing a couple regional launches in the next couple of months to get it, to make it a national brand.
You just mentioned your tap room. Do you have a physical tap room for people to go to?
Yeah, so I think we were the original and only non-alcoholic only tap room. It was based in Connecticut. We're actually moving it to our new brewery because it was at our original brewery. And so people would travel all over to come to this non-alcoholic tap room. And we've got a map on the wall that Liana, our tap room manager, kept. And it's got pins in it from all over the country. And so we'd be in there on a Friday night, and somebody would walk in and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I came in from Nashville or wherever." I'm like, "Cool, what are you doing?" I'm like, "We're coming here." It was like that was the destination, which
That's
kind
really
of
cool.
blew us away. But if you think about it, a lot of these people were in Bill's camp, and Bill was ordering non-alcoholic beer from overseas for a number of years just because he wanted to have a good beer.
I am looking at your website right now, and you have JJ Watt, you have Chef David Chang drinking Athletic. I mean, I think it's pretty cool that this craft beer is getting this national attention. You're in New England. I always think that's really important when we're talking to people. And it's huge. I mean, it's booming for all the right reasons. If you were to say, did you catch lightning in a bottle, would you say that?
I don't know that I'd say that because we put the work in. I think that we helped make the lightning. And, I think there are some other brands that are out there doing it also. Heineken, Bud, two that are putting in the work too. And Sam Adams is out there putting some marketing dollars behind this and growing the category. So, it definitely didn't just happen. And I think the timing was right. But we and our team did the work. There was no part of it that was easy.
Yeah, no, I can imagine just by the product itself, drinking that beer. It's very, I mean, it's good. It's a good beer. I personally tried 20 different NA beers over the course of Dry January, and you were right up there with the top.
Awesome. Thank you.
And the best part about it was how easy it was to get your beer. Accessibility is huge for somebody who's always on the go and going to different places. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we found value in our e-commerce channel and that direct relation that we had with customers. Could ship anywhere or almost anywhere, and then also trying to become nationally distributed so that if and when you want to find our flagships locally, you can do that.
Yeah. Now, for our listeners who may not have had any of your flagships, what are the flagships?
So we've got our Upside Down Golden. It's 45 calories and gluten reduced. We've got our Run Wild IPA, 65 calories. It's kind of like a timeless classic IPA. Sorry. We've got our Free Wave Hazy IPA, which was the first beer to graduate from our pilot program into a full-time launch. We saw the reaction and the response to people drinking it and decided to grow it up. And then the next one that grew up out of our pilot program that took about 1.5 to 2 years to develop was our Athletic Light, which is 25 calories, 5 grams of carbs, and 0 sugar.
Yeah, that one is awesome. I noticed you mentioned gluten reduced. Is it possible to have a gluten-free NA beer that's not just seltzer water?
You could, and there is some work being done in the gluten-free space as far as working with unique grains and things like that. We have not yet done that because it takes a lot to dedicate an entire facility to being gluten-free. And we don't want to make any false claims at all. So, we're proud that our product is gluten reduced, and we validate that every single time. But hopefully someday we can innovate into the gluten-free category.
Yeah. In Connecticut, are you still behind Two Roads for the biggest brewery, or have you surpassed them?
I think from a production standpoint, we have probably surpassed. We cleared just over 200,000 barrels in 2022.
Wow.
And continue to grow it.
Yeah. Obviously, with a big brand like yourself, you have to keep secrets tight to the chest. But what's next for Athletic?
Next for Athletic, we've got some growing to do in our existing facilities. We just finished building our state-of-the-art facility here in Connecticut. We've got a lot of room to grow and a lot of processes to learn about. And so we're excited to do that. The teams are always producing new beers on both coasts in the pilot program. And, I may or may not have heard about a sour brown type product that's going to come out in a couple months, but we're planning out pretty far off into the future. So 6 months from now, we've got some exciting stuff on the horizon.
Yeah. This might be a dumb question, but do you think Athletic will ever brew a alcoholic beer?
We don't want to say never to anything necessarily, but we do have a lot of work in front of us, and we also don't want to confuse anything. We know that there's a massive opportunity in non-alcoholic beer alone, and we're pleased to be innovating in that space alone for the foreseeable future. Is there space for really low alcohol beer? For sure. I think there's a lot of opportunity for the 1 to 2%ers, but we're not there yet, and there are also some regulatory hurdles that we're not ready to pass right now.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. You mentioned you did a Maybach, and you do some lagers, right?
Yep.
How much of the brewing process is traditional? Are you decocting or open fermentation, anything of that nature with those styles?
Yeah, so everything is pretty standard brewing. We've got our mash tun, lauter tun, kettle, whirlpool. So all that's normal. We don't have much in way of open fermentation, and that's mostly because of food safety.
Yep.
Again, it's a very susceptible product when you don't have ethanol as a preservative or as a thing to ward off other microbes. So, sanitation is key. But yeah, from a brewing standpoint, everything that we do is traditional.
Yeah. You've mentioned a couple times the ethanol portion. Does that mean the shelf life of your beer is maybe not as long as other?
It doesn't actually. So because we recognized that so early on, it made us think really hard, like, how can we make this shelf stable? And that was one of the goals that we had set out to do in the beginning, which we don't just want to make this thing for, right now in 2 weeks that lives in a cold box and then it's dead. We want to make something that can grow, something that can travel, because we, love to be international at some point. So in that, we recognized the fact that we needed a tunnel pasteurizer. So,
okay, cool.
Early on, we adopted that practice at our original brewery and every brewery since. And, for us, it is the only way to do it, because you're putting your final finished product in its final form and then putting it through a process that ensures that it's shelf stable and safe for the duration of its life. And so, domestically, our shelf life is 6 months, and we're really happy about that.
Yeah. Is there a style that you haven't brewed yet at Athletic that you want?
I would love to do a sour brown,
Okay, so yeah. Spoiler alert, yeah.
Yeah, so how we go about that, I'm not entirely sure yet, but we've kind of been kicking tires on that, and I think we're going to start playing with that and thinking about how we can make the process work for NA beer.
Yeah. We've seen a lot of NA alcohol in the liquor area.
Yep.
Any plans for dipping your toes in hard spirits?
No, not immediately. The brands that are out there that are doing it currently are doing a great job. And I think we'll let them play in that area. Maybe someday we do a collaboration or something. But that's an art unto itself, and it would take a lot to kind of get into that.
Yeah. Collaborations. Have you ever done a collaboration?
Yeah, we've done lots of collaborations, and we've got some that are upcoming that are pretty exciting. But we're just in the middle of a collaboration with Super Coffee, the Key to Life company, and we did a protein beer called Souped Up. And
Okay.
Bill, our co-founder, is with Jimmy, Super Coffee founder, down at South by Southwest right now, promoting that. So it's an extra dark, and it's brewed with 5 grams of protein. So we've got that. We did a cool collaboration with Justin's Peanut Butter, where we did a peanut butter kind of porter style brew, and then we got new stuff all over the place. We've got a beer with Iron Man, so we've got some exciting stuff.
Yeah, that is awesome. I'm definitely going to check out, and I encourage our listeners to check out the e-commerce, because it's awesome to hear some of these styles that I want to try in NA world. So
yeah, no, it's fun, and the things they're out there limited. They'll be on the website for a week, 2 weeks. We've got different programs. For those who just want to buy innovative stuff, you can buy those, with a certain club membership. We've got recurring memberships for other folks that just want flagships, and kind of mix and match.
yeah. Well, John, thank you so much for doing this morning.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, and certainly educational for our listeners who, maybe want to give dry a try. And we were not paid for that. But no, I mean this when I say that. I think having a non-alcoholic beer is a great option for people. I certainly see myself grabbing that option more. My girlfriend made a joke that I probably drank during January more than I typically do in February, March, or any of the other months, non-alcoholic wise, but that's because they were good.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, I it's my cheesy tagline, but I say that since we started Athletic, I drink a lot more beer and a lot less alcohol.
Yeah, no, that's a very good tagline. Well, John, hopefully we don't get hit with a lot of snow, because I don't want a snowblow.
No, me neither. I don't have a snowblower. I'll be out there with a shovel.
Well, I'll drink Athletic while I'm doing it. How about that?
All right, that's perfect.
Sounds good. All right, John. Well, thank you for doing this, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks so much for having us.
No problem. Yeah.
At our local homebrew shop, Beer and Wine Hobby, you can get everything you need to make beer, wine, cider, cheese, and more. Not sure where to start? They have knowledgeable staff there to help. Beer and Wine Hobby is family-owned and located in Danvers, Massachusetts. Visit their website, beer-wine.com, and use our promo code BREWROOTS for 10% off your online order today.
Shirts on Tap is the box subscription service for craft beer lovers. Each month, Shirts on Tap partners up with 7 different breweries from across the country and collaborates on a sweet custom shirt design. We've been teamed up with Shirts on Tap since the inception of the podcast and are proud to announce a new promo code for all of our listeners. To get your first shirt for $5 off, go to the link in our description below and use the promo code. And remember, drink better beer, wear better shirts.
Are you a solo artist, band, podcaster, or anyone else who needs recording services?
Well, we got a place for you where your vision can become a reality.
Welcome to Small Pond Studios, built by hand with heart and sweat equity by musicians for musicians.
Go to smallpondstudios.io to reach out to get more information. And make sure you let them know that Brewing sent you. Hey, Sound Guy Ryan here. Didn't know if you heard, but we're a part of the Hopped Up Network. There you'll find other informative podcasts about beer. So go ahead, follow them on social media, and visit them on their website, hoppedupnetwork.com, to learn more about the people, beer, and breweries from around the country. And until next time, thanks for listening. Cheers.